Chapter 30, Welcome to Poland, Continued, Day 2, by Justin Rosales, May 1st, 2010. The next morning when I woke up, I heard voices coming from downstairs. I didn't want to miss out on any fun, so I quickly got dressed and walked down the steps. Henny, Conrad, and Wim were sitting at the table by the fireplace talking. "Good morning, Justin," said Wim in a joyous tone. "Would you like some coffee with milk and sugar?" "Sure," I replied. "Thanks." Wim ran out of the room into the kitchen to fetch me some coffee, and I took a seat across from Henny at the table. "Good morning, guys. How'd you sleep?" I asked. Henny and Conrad replied in unison. "Good." Wim came back into the room a moment later with coffee. "Here you go. Here's some sugar, a spoon, and if you'd like to add some more." He placed the sugar and the coffee in front of me. "It's hot, so be careful." "Thanks, Wim. So what's the plan for today?" I blew in my coffee and tried to cool it off. "We were talking when you were asleep. We were thinking about driving to the other side of town. There are some rocks there that we can use ropes to climb down. It should be fun, yes?" "Sure. I haven't done something like that in a long time." "First, I want you to try some breathing exercises. Perhaps after breakfast you can go back upstairs and try them while we clean up down here." "Okay," I replied. "Start off," he continued, "by taking 30 breaths to saturate your body. Then, after your last breath, take one big breath and blow it out completely. Hold it for as long as you can with no breath in your lungs. When you need to breathe again, take one big breath in and hold it for 10 seconds. Close your eyes and maybe you'll see some lights going on. If it doesn't happen right away, it will hopefully happen in the future. After you did that 3 times, I want you to do 30 breaths and then hold your breath for as long as you can. Time yourself for all of these. As you do it more and more, your time will increase. It is a cleansing exercise." "Sure, I'll try it. I have a quick question though. What's the most important part of the cold exercises? Is it the breathing or is it the cold exposure?" "It is both. The breathing gives you control, while the cold gives you the experience and conditions the body." "All right, thanks. I'll do the exercises." I made myself a bowl of cereal to go with my coffee. When I finished my breakfast, I went upstairs to attempt the breathing exercises. My first 3 trials of holding my breath without air in my lungs resulted in the following times. First trial, 1 minute 33 seconds. Second trial, 1 minute 45 seconds. Third trial, 1 minute 22 seconds. I didn't see the lights that Wim had mentioned, but I had little hopes for it happening the first time I tried it. I then proceeded to try holding my breath after inhaling. I only tried it once, but my time was 3 minutes and 36 seconds. I usually don't hold my breath, but I thought 3 minutes and 36 seconds was good for my first attempt. By the time I got back downstairs, Wim was already done packing the ropes, carabiners, and harnesses into the Jeep. Everything was ready. We all jumped in and drove 30 minutes to the rocks. When we pulled in, Wim explained where we would be rappelling. "The rocks that we will rappel down are hidden behind these trees," Wim said. "We must climb the path a bit, then we will see them." We grabbed the gear and started hiking. 20 minutes later, our group was looking down a 90-foot drop, 27.4 meters. "Here we are," Wim declared. "This is where we will rappel. It's about conquering fear. If you're going to be in the cold, you have to be willing to look past the danger and focus on the moment. You must stay attentive, or you could hurt yourself. Be like a cat with precise and acute reflexes. Prepare yourself." As encouraging as Wim's speech was, I was terrified. I've rappelled down fake rock walls at Camp Judson before, but not real ones. The Camp Judson rock wall was made out of plastic. Also, with the rock walls at Judson, we were belayed down and controlled by someone else. In this scenario, we would be in complete control of our own fate. I noticed that we didn't also bring any helmets. With one wrong move, I could easily slam my head against the rock and fall to my death. I told myself that I had to go down. I didn't want to look like a coward. What would Wim think of me if I were too afraid to rappel down a few rocks? I kept my fears to myself and bit my tongue. I had no choice but to do as he said and live in the moment. If I succumbed to any emotions, I would jeopardize my safety, and it would be no one's fault but my own. Wim went down first to test out the rope to make sure he had tied it correctly. "It's always scary being the first to go down. Even I feel it," he said while dangling over the edge. "But we must accept it if we wish to gain the riches of success." With that, he bent his knees and pushed off the wall with all his strength. He flew down at an incredible speed. He landed at the bottom in under 30 seconds with no injuries. This guy made it look easy. Henry and Conrad went next. Both of them went down smoothly. Conrad and I had discussed before he descended that he was also afraid. Yet he told me that he was excited to try something new. To Conrad, this week was about changing his lifestyle and experiencing life for all that it had to offer. His words, they motivated me. Hearing that someone else was intimidated by the heights made me feel comfortable. Watching Conrad descend before me made me feel more capable. When he reached the bottom, I approached the top where Wim was sitting. There were no safety ropes to prevent me from slipping, so I sat on the ground next to him. I slid the harness on and prepared myself. "Everything will be okay," Wim assured me. "You'll be fine. You have a strong mind and a strong soul. I believe in you." With those words, he tied the carabiner to my harness and wished me luck. I slowly slid my body toward the edge, and Wim held the rope so it wouldn't get snagged on a rock. When you're ready, turn around and put your feet flat against the wall, then lean back. I did as I was told. He let go of the rope, and my life suddenly came back into my hands. I pushed myself off of the ledge of the rock and leaned backwards. I positioned my legs so that they were flat against the wall and released the grip on the tight rope with my right hand, and then my body suddenly jerked downwards. I reflexively gripped the rope again. Too fast, I thought. So I slowly let the rope slide through my fist and then performed a small horizontal jump off the face of the wall. "Good job, Justin," Wim called from the top. "Well done." I smiled at Wim's encouragement, but remained focused on the wall. I tried lowering myself down more smoothly by keeping a steady but constant release of the rope. After a few more kicks, I got the hang of it. "Hey, Justin," I heard someone yell from behind me. I turned my head and saw that it was Conrad. "Keep looking over here. I want to take a picture." It was hard to stabilize my body against the rocks. Gravity wanted me to keep going downward, but I held the rope tightly and did my best to look back and smile at the camera. A few clicks echoed off the surrounding walls. I took that as a sign that I could continue down. "Thanks," Conrad yelled in appreciation. Descending down the rest of the way was a piece of cake. The only extremely scary part about rappelling down the rock is stepping over the edge. Everything else is simple. I knew that if something went wrong, I would have no control over it. I guess you could say I was comforted in knowing that, in my opinion, I could only control what was in my power and everything else would be left up to God. Once my feet touched the ground, a surge of adrenaline rushed through me. I was itching to do it again. I disconnected myself from the rope and yelled up to Wim, "Clear," to let him know that the rope was free. I then jogged up the path back to the top of the cliff. By the time I'd reached the top, Conrad was already on his way down again. I noticed Henny packing up the gear, but when Wim saw me, he asked if I wanted to go once more. "Sure," I yelled in excitement. That was awesome. When Conrad reached the bottom and had disconnected himself from the rope, Wim connected my harness once more. "Have fun," he said, while patting me on the back. He held the rope, which allowed me to get into position once more. When he let go, I felt the weight of my life in my hands again. It was a powerful feeling. This time, I wanted to go down faster. Simultaneously, I loosened my grip on the rope, tucked my knees, and pushed off with an exaggerated force. My body soared toward the ground, picking up speed on the way down. And right before I was in position to make my final kick, I tightened my grip to slow my body down. Soon after, I was safely on the ground once again. What an exhilarating experience. A few minutes later, we had taken all the equipment down and packed it into the Jeep. We then drove back to Lower Slosky to wait for Marco's arrival. It took us an hour or so before we found the bus station where he would be arriving. We thought we had missed him until we checked the bus schedule. It said we still had another 2 hours before his bus arrived. In the meantime, we began playing guitar and throwing the frisbee around in the streets. While Conrad and I were throwing the frisbee, Conrad told me that he used to play ultimate frisbee with an organized group. I could tell he wasn't lying because his throws were fast and accurate. I mentioned my time playing on Penn State's club team during my freshman year. Buses came and went. Around 5 p.m., Marco finally showed up, but not by bus. I was the first to see him, emerging from the bushes behind us. He told us he had been walking around town for a while, looking for us. He had apparently arrived earlier that day and went to check out the town hall in his spare time. Marco had a strong build and an evident tan. Born and raised in Ecuador, Marco was known for traveling around Europe to learn about yoga. He was searching to find enlightenment. Marco was a good fellow with a kind soul. He stood a little shorter than I, but we had the same haircut. We both had buzzed black hair. We could be passed off as brothers probably, being that we both have Spanish backgrounds and also Spanish features. His skin complexion showed he was a young and healthy individual. "So what now?" I asked after we had all been acquainted. "What should we do?" It was Conrad who spoke up. "Well, why don't we drive to Carpatch, where my cousin lives, and we can find a place to have dinner there?" "Sounds good to me," said Marco. "Sure," said Henny. "Yes, let's go," Wim chimed in at last. We walked back to the Jeep with our new friend, Marco, and began driving to Carpatch. Carpatch was about a 25-minute drive from Lower Slosky. Carpatch was also the town where Wim and Conrad were hoping to organize the 5K run in the snow in the upcoming winter. On the ride over, Wim and Conrad filled Marco in on their plan and invited them to participate in the run as well. Marco also had a slew of questions for Wim about Iceman training. Marco's questions carried on all the way until we arrived at the restaurant called Coloroa in Carpatch. It was a beautiful place with a very interesting menu. For the first time ever, I tried beet stew. I typically don't like beets at all, but the flavor here tasted amazing. During dinner, the conversation switched back to the barefoot snow run. Wim and Conrad were trying to figure out marketing plans and specific information. I told them perhaps I could be of some help and try to spread the word in America. I have a few friends that may be interested in participating in something like this. They seemed excited and continued to discuss the potential. Wim's goal was to show the world that anyone could train to do what he had done. He figured that the barefooted snow run was an opportunity to get people interested in pushing past their body's perceived limits. It was exciting to be involved in this type of talk, to be a part of something bigger than myself. I felt very honored to be included. After dinner, Wim said that we should all climb Mount Blanc with him. Apparently, in the first week of August, he was scheduled to ascend Mount Blanc. He told Marco and I that we were welcome to join to help encourage our training. I didn't want to get my hopes up, but I told Wim I was interested if he thought it was possible. Of course it's possible, he countered when I questioned him. If I can do it, you can do it. We are all capable. The spirit has no age. These few words lit up my face. The spirit has no age. It's something that Jarrett and I had believed in wholeheartedly. And to hear someone whom I had never expressed those views with before say it on the opposite side of the world just came as a huge shock to me. It was comforting to know that someone else had come to that same conclusion on their own. At this moment, I knew Wim was something spectacular. Him and I were the same in a way. We both wanted to see what life had to offer and not let any obstacle get in the way. Wim was no longer some celebrity to me. I saw him for what he really was, selfless. He wanted to make a difference in the world and offer his services to anyone who needed it. He recognized the potential in his ability and wanted to share it with the world, not keep it to himself. He was the type of guy that competitively challenged people to push themselves to be better. And everything I saw in Wim was everything that I hoped I would become. After dinner, we went on a short walk. Wim and Conrad were trying to find a hidden path to a waterfall, but because it was dark and neither of them had been there in a few years, they couldn't find it. We ended up walking by an old monastery. Marco took tons of pictures. It seemed to fascinate him, and he kept quiet and followed along as Conrad and Wim continued to talk about their 5K event. Eventually, we all grew tired and deemed it time to go home. On the drive back, Conrad got a little lost. We drove in one direction for a while and then tried to correct it by taking Wim's directions. So instead of a 25-minute ride home, it ended up taking 2.5 hours. And then by the time we got back, we were all exhausted. We had barely enough energy to drag our bodies to our beds before passing out. I used my last few minutes of consciousness to write a journal entry in my laptop to document the day's events. And when I finished, I hit the power button on my laptop, closed the lid, and fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow.